Okay, here I am lying in my bed, dreaming about owning a fucking property in the middle of the fucking bush, yeah. Which is something I've dreamt about since I was about 15, actually, and I am almost 40. So it's probably time to actually do something about it. So what am I gonna do? Or more importantly, why do I want to do it? So about 15 years ago, no, 2020. So about 15 years ago. So in about 2011, I sat in this room. It didn't look anything like this room. I was on this janky old desktop computer and I just Googled how to build a cheap home. I wanted to learn how timber homes went together. I just wanted to research like the types of joints and how a roof goes onto the walls and all that stuff. And one of the first things that came up was a YouTube video of these coiled layers of something that were coiled and coiled and coiled to make this kind of beehive looking egg-shaped dome thing. And within about 30 seconds, I was ludicrously interested. It turned out being an eco-building technique called SuperAdobe, none of which I knew anything about, and there was no possible way that I could predict what clicking on that video would have done to my life.
From that moment, I became relentlessly obsessed.
I manically researched it, found out that it was invented in California, and then also found an Australian Facebook page dedicated entirely to it. I followed that Facebook page, and about a year later they posted this flyer for a workshop to build the first permitted, council-approved SuperAdobe building in Australia. So I enrolled in the workshop, drove like 10 hours to get to Adelaide, stayed at my friend's for like 2 weeks and did the workshop. And it was unbelievable. Like, to hold SuperAdobe in my hands for the first time was absolutely, it was indescribable. I got asked so many questions, I learned so much stuff, and we just had this wonderful week of building this crazy little granny flat dome. And it was sick. It was really sick. And then I came back to Melbourne and kept on living my pretty shitty, aimless life. Didn't have a lot of direction. Didn't really know what I was gonna do. I was 26, almost 27, and I really didn't know what I was gonna do. I had so many interests and passions, but it was nothing that was like a career or a life or was really actually going anywhere. It was pretty sad, actually. It was pretty sad. I felt pretty lost. I felt very lost. And I was partying a lot, drinking a lot, taking some drugs. It got pretty out of hand. Got really out of hand. Ended up having a bit of a mental breakdown and just basically losing it for about 3 or 4 months. Got really unwell and really scared. But I got better. I got better in this room with the help of friends and family. And I was still interested in this wacky technology. So I signed up for another workshop here in Australia. And I also applied to go to California to learn where it all came from. And none of it would have been possible at all without the help of my mum. When I offhandedly mentioned that I'd like to go over to California and maybe see this place, she just dived right on and opened up the laptop and started looking at it, found out about their courses, and basically said her and Dad would help pay and I could just go over and do it, and I could pay them back and I could just chase something that I was obviously interested in, but I had no thought that I would actually get there even within the next 10 years. So that was it. I was off, saved up some money, bought my tickets. I'd never been overseas by myself. I'd never studied anywhere properly, and I had no idea what the next 3 months was gonna do to my life. I had absolutely no idea. When I arrived there, I really didn't actually understand what I was getting into, not in like a wafty way. I didn't really actually understand that I'd walked into a teacher training intensive course. I knew that I was going to learn about Earthbags and all that, but the exact structure of it was broken into 3 parts, which was 1 month introductory, 1 month beginning to teach, and then 1 month teaching. So it basically built Earthbag teachers, and I really didn't understand that. I thought that we were just going and would help out on some projects and just get immersed in it, really. But it was an incredibly well-structured, incredibly clear teacher training course. I got paired up with 3 absolute legends, and it was us 4 in this little house called the Happy Learning Center, and we just lived together. We worked 6 days a week, we had Sundays off, and we just worked in the high desert of California in the summer. It was unbelievable. It was a baptism of fire for sure, but it was just so methodically built and taught, and the care and the passion was just so obvious and so clear. So I finished up the 3 months there, and it was just nothing short of life-changing. It was so unbelievable. It taught me so much, and it taught me how to be a teacher. It really did. So in the last week there, I launched Curvatexture, thought of the name, made the website, and also organized my first workshop, which was going to happen in 2014 when I was back in Australia. Although I was super interested in all of the physical building side of things and how things go together and how to build these buildings, loved that. But the thing that I found most powerful is actually the communal side of it and the semi-spiritual side of it, I guess. It's hard to describe if you've never been to a natural building workshop, but it's basically like you're reclaiming this mini village for a week or even a weekend or even a day of building, to be able to work towards something in a very physical way that gets you back into your body, out of your mind, back into your body, very generously. You're often paying to go, or maybe it's free, so you're a volunteer. So it's filled with this generous, compassionate, humanist offerings, really, and that makes this team of just beautiful, fun-loving, caring, happy people, and you're doing something way bigger than yourself, so you're all working towards this massive main goal. So it's really hard to put your finger on it or say exactly what it is, but it happens at every single workshop. So that whole side of it, the community side of it, and like reclaiming what it means to be a human, that really was shown to me at Cal Earth. And then from when I first landed back in Melbourne and ran my first workshop in 2014, that energy never ever left, and it was apparent at every single workshop I've done since. So it's now 2025. That's 11 years of running workshops, and the energy has been different faces, but exactly the same energy. It's super beautiful. So I really wanted to explore that more. I really wanted to explore the communal side of how these things work, how communities work, how properties work, how you can make a little commune, you know, to use a bit of a dirty word. And so I reached out to my favorite artist, who is a world-renowned psychedelic mystic artist called Alex Gray, and I went and stayed with him and his wife for 2 weeks and worked on his property in upstate New York after my apprenticeship. So that was just as illuminating and life-changing as the course itself, to be able to go and see how you can build a life and a property and a message and a temple dedicated to the emerging creative human spirit. It was fucking sick. So after living with my hero for 2 weeks, I flew home to Melbourne and ran my first workshop towards the end of 2014, and I basically haven't stopped running them since then. I've lived on a massive selection of rural properties in Victoria, so I've had a lot of time living on the land and being pretty connected to nature and to this work. Basically lived this work for the last 10 years. So it grew in me this massive passion to not just have my own country property, but to have a school, a natural building school, permanently based in Australia that runs consistent natural building workshops. I was really blessed because I got to travel all over Victoria and Australia and the world teaching workshops, but it does get pretty tiring after a while to not really have your own space to lay my head and to be able to build something really substantial, and to be able to build a proper syllabus just like I learned at Cal Earth. That's really my biggest goal, so that anyone from anywhere in the world can come, stay with us, live with us, and build with us. So that's pretty cool. And I started that in a way. I started an online school called School of SuperAdobe about a year or so ago, and that's slowly releasing, which is really great. But yeah, I've got this real desire to have a physical school that's my own, and that we can really push this thing in Australia even further. So that's ultimately the dream, to build an off-grid eco-building school where people can come and learn off-grid and homesteading skills, and also how to build their own buildings out of non-toxic natural materials. So, what the hell do I do now? Like, seriously, I know almost nothing about purchasing land, and I have no money. So, I'm going to document every single step. I'm going to document meetings with the bank. I'm going to document going out to properties, physically looking. I've been looking on realestate.com since I was about 18 for a certain type of land in a certain price bracket. So whenever I'd be down, whenever I'd be lonely, sad, whatever, I'd just check realestate.com and I'd just fantasize about this. So one massive thing that's changed is I've come back to Melbourne and I've gotten a full-time job, which is my first full-time job since 2011. And ever since this, I've just basically been fucking around in the Australian bush. So it's safe to say I really do not have any money, and I've never ever seriously looked into this. I've just dreamt about it. So I'm really excited to share my journey of learning how to speak to the banks, how to calculate your mortgage, how to figure out zoning for all the properties. That's a massive thing as well. So I'm going to talk to councils, I'm going to talk to the landowners, I'm going to talk to the banks, and I'm going to share it all with everyone because I know that this is a dream. One of the biggest narratives that I have seen at every single workshop that I've run or I've been to, or people that I've just met along the way, the amount of people that say, oh, I'd really love to have my own country property and grow my own food and live off the land. That is ludicrously popular. So yeah, I hope that I can inspire somebody else. I hope that my journey goes well enough to show anybody else that it's possible. If you've got nothing, you can make it happen. You just have to have a dream and a bit of a vision. So I'm going to buy in less than 2 years, on or before my 40th birthday, I'm going to buy my country property and I'm going to start the dream. I'm going to work my ass off through my 40s, and then I'm going to kick my dusty feet up and retire in my food forest. Okay. So if it sounds interesting, come along. This is the first of hopefully many little videos, and yeah, hope to inspire some people. And I'm doing it for myself as well, to keep myself accountable, and yeah, just saying to the world and to the universe, this is what I'm doing and it's gonna happen in this time frame. So yeah, lots of love, everyone. Mwah.